I'm going straight steak, potatoes, steak, and eggs. And it sounds simple, but being an athlete, just trying to get something in their body, it's hard to mess up.
Welcome to Double Major, the newest Canadian college football show. I'm your host, Alex McComb. My guest today is an offensive lineman from Hamilton who didn't start playing football until his senior year of high school in Burlington, moved south of the border for prep school at Wyoming Seminary before stops at Temple and Wake Forest, and now landing at the University of Texas this spring as part of one of the best offensive tackle duos in the country. Melvin Siani is with me today. Melvin, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, Melvin, take me back to Hamilton. What was your athletic career like in the Hammer before football? And did you really share the same YMCA as a certain NBA MVP?
Yes, yes, yes. This is way back when, um, before I always say before with SGA, back when it was just Shea, So he did go to the same YMCA as me, and we did exchange some basketball runs. I won't be sharing how that went, but you could only imagine. Um, yeah, so it came from humble beginnings, with basketball dreams, of really soccer aspirations at first, and then transitioned to basketball dreams, and then finally in the clip end of my high school career, finding football.
So, soccer and basketball are where you say your roots are. What was there anything that carried over into how you play football today?
Yes, I'd say obviously has a huge emphasis on footwork, lateral quickness, and kind of you need good footwork to play soccer. Point through. So I feel like that footwork that I've gained from my experience, playing soccer as well as basketball, because you have to move laterally in order to stay in front of defenders and whatnot. I feel like that was very easily um replicable in O line play. So when I started playing football, kind of mirroring defenders, moving laterally, staying in front of them in pass protection, I feel like that was the direct transition from the basketball days as well as the soccer days.
I think I noticed maybe a year ago or two, I don't know. You had a cooking Instagram account as a kid at Melvin Bakes. What
Oh,
what got a kid in Hamilton posting about recipes and cooking? And do you remember the first thing that you cooked?
I'm not gonna lie. My mom just got me a cookbook this one day because I would sit there and watch the Food Network, watching Chopped and a bunch of like MasterChef Junior, and she just got me a cookbook one day, and it kind of got me going in that direction. So I started off with like cookies, and they weren't that good. I made them in the microwave, so you can only imagine how those tasted. And then I started experimenting with different type of baking. I remember cinnamon rolls, apple pie, because it was that fall season. So cooking was really my thing for a little bit. I used to, cook something up and then give it to my friends at school the next day and see if they liked it or whatnot. So I don't know, it was my passion. It was my passion. It was somewhere like I could express myself other than sports. I would just get in the kitchen and I'd whip something up. And I still cook to this day, but not as much baking, just due to the fact that I'm in college and I'm in an apartment and whatnot. And it's a little harder to kind of navigate through getting all the ingredients and everything.
We'll talk more about that food world a little bit later, but walk me through your football life in Canada before moving south. What was that time like when you were first putting on the pads?
Um, I have two cousins, as you may know, Jet Elad and Peter Kemeny, that just finished their respective careers in college football. One finishing at Rutgers University and the other finishing at Ohio University. So they're kind of the vision planner, and seeing them allow their parents not to play for school through a sport was incredible to me. And then they both got their degrees, so I was like, I want to do the same thing. and they kept raving about how football is such a fun sport, and there's so many positions, and there's a spot for everybody. So, um, when I took that risk to start playing football my senior year, I didn't think anything of it. Just a sport to play, um, to get prepared physically for basketball season. And I hopped on the gridiron, first game. Um, I just had so much fun, and I wasn't doing anything but pushing people. And I just found so much fun in it. I felt like I found my little niche. I got to dominate people that were much smaller than me, so I definitely had that advantage given to me at first. So before I got that opportunity to go down south and go to Wyoming Seminary, I just found fun in having that team camaraderie, putting them pads on with the guys, everyone doing their 111 on the field and kind of getting wins in that way. And then I was like, I need more. I need more of this. So I talked to my parents, and then we took that move. We went to Wyoming Seminary, and it was one of the best moves I've ever made because it's helped me get to where I am now.
Speaking of Wyoming Seminary, how did that connection actually happen for you to go there?
I reached out to a ton of people, and I had a couple friends go to prep schools in Canada that play schools in the States, and I felt that was cool, but I kind of wanted to take it even further. So we were exploring boarding school options, and we just applied to a good amount of boarding schools, and Wyoming Seminary gave us the best rates because those schools aren't cheap. So they gave us the best rates. I got familiar with the head coach over there at the time, who was Coach Kevin Burke, and I still speak to him to this day, and he helped me a lot through my process getting to Temple University.
And tell me about arriving at Temple. What was that like? Was there a bit of a culture shock with being on a college football program with the first time and having not that much football experience beforehand?
Yes, yes, yes. Definitely a culture shock. I was real young when I first got into college as I early enrolled. So I didn't really know what to expect. I just kind of it was what you see on social media regarding it. And being in a city like Philadelphia, which is such an illustrious like city, and they're coming off of that year they won the Super Bowl, so you can only imagine how that city was. So it was just a great experience. I I I had some highs and lows. That's spring camp, but it made me a better football player all in all. And I was in the city of Philadelphia by myself, so it made me mature. So I don't know. I can't complain. I can't complain.
Just going back to Wyoming Seminary for a second, was Sebastian Achimpong there with you?
I was telling him, yes, he was there with me, and he's doing his thing over at Monmouth, and I still get the chance to occasionally speak to him, not as much, but he was one of my closest friends when I was over there.
What did having another Canadian in the building mean in those early days?
It was good knowing there are other people chasing the same mission as me. It was multiple. It was actually a great amount of Canadians, probably like 7 to 8 of us on that team. Kind of chasing the same goal. So seeing like-minded people that kind of took that risk with you because they're away from their families. They're in a whole different country. Not familiar with kind of the social aspect of being in America. So we kind of bonded, being the Canadian boys, and the Americans they cracked the jokes, they said the A jokes, all that type of stuff. But all in all, it was a great experience, I would say.
Was Nick Krugy also on that team as well?
Yes, sir, he was. Yeah, yeah. I think it was Alex Cruzy, his younger brother, Nick Cruzy. I was familiar with due to him being at Wyoming Seminary, but I just missed him as he went to, I believe it was Maine University,
Yeah.
before that.
Was there, at that point, was there any Canadian in college football, NFL or CFL that you were looking up to at that point?
Yeah, like as I said, my cousins, like they were kind of leading the way for me. Um, Obviously, they both play defensive back. I'm far from a defensive back, but just them playing at such a high level and seeing them in the big screen and being able to watch them on Saturdays, it was big for me and motivated me to kind of aspire to get to that same level.
And when you went to Temple, I believe your first career start was at left tackle against SMU in 2023. What do you remember about that night?
Um, I remember it was a night game. It wasn't the outcome we wanted to say the least, but I gained a lot of valuable experience, and they had a really good big D line. I remember, I think his name was Elijah Robertson. I think he currently plays for the Buccaneers. That was my matchup for the night, and I did pretty well. I held my own that night, and it kind of allowed me to know that maybe I could do this, and maybe I could compete at this level. So I was a right tackle that year, and I played left tackle that game, and I was holding my own. My coach was kind of letting me know that you could play at this level, even though that wasn't the outcome we wanted as a team. So that was a good confidence booster for me.
Temple's O-line room during your time had guys from Canada, Tonga, and Sweden, including fellow Canadian Devray Vanu. What was that O-line room like with all those international personalities?
It was a good experience. I enjoyed that in the line room. I remember Davray. He was a good young player. Just it was less. That's the outlier, like because we were almost outnumbering them with the international players. Because you mentioned the guys from Sweden and Tonga, so it's like damn near in that O line room, the Americans were the outliers, which is kind of rare to say, but it's good just for team bonding and cultural like differences and kind of seeing the guy from Sweden speak Sweden to his people and asking, oh, what are you talking about right there? Or like him eating his traditional food, and we're over here talking about, damn, I want to come home get a poutine, and they're like, what's a poutine? So I feel like it's a beauty in different cultures, and seeing them all in one room, it truly has its own beauty to it.
Arriving at Wake Forest a year ago, you started at left tackle in 2025 and didn't allow a single sack. What was the biggest adjustment or improvement you made between Temple and Wake Forest?
I would say I changed my body composition. I made it a point to, get stronger, get leaner. And overall that helped me move better just as an individual. So kind of every aspect of my game was able to improve, whether it was my strength, my lateral quickness, my first step off the ball, all that stuff. I kind of stripped everything, um all the habits I may have had, like eating habits or anything I've had at Temple, and I kind of restarted that at Wake Forest, and it was for the better because it paid off that year.
I was looking at it today. Wake Forest's run game jumped roughly 500 rushing yards and a full yard per carry from the year before you arrived to your season there. Take me inside the helmet of Melvin Siani on a run play. What are the keys to being an effective run blocker or people mover, as one may call you?
Um, Half of it is having that violent instinct within you that I'm not gonna let this guy make the play, and I'm gonna move this guy against his will. The other half of it is knowing the assignment, knowing where the ball is supposed to go, and knowing the front that the defense is giving us because at this level it's a lot of movement. So kind of peeking at the linebacker, why is he positioned that way? Is he gonna blitz outside? Am I gonna have to pass it over to my guard and come off to the linebacker? So kind of having that, 200 IQ of seeing the game before the game happens, as well as just brute violence, like that combination never fails, and it allows explosive plays to happen on the running side.
You played with Newer Gatkuth at Wake Forest, who ended up a Cornish Trophy finalist and is now with the Blue Bombers. What was your relationship like with him? Did you two get many reps against each other in practice?
Oh, every day, every day. It was high intensity, a high competition. He was really a great player, and that year I feel like people were able to tell. They're like, "Who's this Canadian guy breaking into the scene?" So I was truly happy for him. But every day it was a great competition, a lot of trash talking, because when you're going against another Canadian, there's a certain level of pride coming in the game. So he definitely made me better, and I wish him all the best.
Yeah, that Alberta Ontario rivalry must have been pretty
Yes, sir.
interesting.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. It was great. It was great. It was great to have that kind of guy pushing you on the other side.
Take me inside your transfer to Texas. What made the Longhorns the right place for you to potentially finish up your college football career?
Kind of the weapons I have around me, as well as the platform that the University of Texas could give to me, as well as the the fact that I felt like I was one of the missing pieces to kind of the puzzle that the Longhorns needed to compete for a national championship. All in that, all of that kind of forms my overall decision to take my talents to the SEC. Obviously, I'm chasing the highest level of competition because overall my goal is to play in the NFL and be a high draft pick and all that good stuff. So, what's the better place to do that in the most competitive conference? With the most sought after quarterback behind you and the best receivers around you and a great defense, just in a great state as well. So just kind of seeing the vision that Coach Sark had. I felt like it would be a great move, and I've been loving it ever since I got here, so I can't complain.
Going from one program to another is definitely an adjustment for anyone, just like moving jobs. But just how similar are Texas and Wake Forest on the offensive side of the ball? I heard there's a shared coaching tree lineage there.
Yes, sir. You heard right. So obviously, Nick Saban was a great coach, and he produced great coaches through that. So that playbook kind of goes around a little bit. So there's very similar plays, even down to the name, and the name matching the concept. So the offensive coordinator at Wake Forest was one of those guys that coached under Nick Saban, and so is Coach Sark, obviously being his offensive coordinator, backing out in Alabama, as well as Coach Flood being his offensive line coach when he was at Alabama. There was there's a lot of similarities, and that only made the transition even seamlessly.
You and Trevor Goosby are being talked about as one of the best tackle tandems in the country. Tell me about your connection with him.
That's my brother, man. That's my brother. We do a lot of things together. Um, just we feed off of each other. He has a good block on one on ones. I'm over here hyping him up. I have a good block on one on ones. He's over there hyping me up. Having a great player like that to learn from, as well as give tips to, because we both played a lot of football at a high level, and we're both huge competitors. So we always put work in together and whatnot. So that also helped my decisions of playing next to another great tackle that I feel like I can feed off of, and we can feed off of each other. It only helps the team as well as it helps their individual success.
You mentioned your new quarterback is part of the reason why you came over to Texas. What's it like pass protecting for Arch Manning specifically?
Man, he's a great quarterback, and he can make plays on his feet as well as throwing the ball. Obviously, we've all seen it last year. So, you know, it's kind of a aspect of pressure, just having that name behind you, and that's something I chase. Like I enjoy that pressure. So, knowing you have the best quarterback behind you, and you have that everyone watching, it's something I chase in a way. So I enjoy blocking for him. He's a very cool guy off the field. People wouldn't even know that. Like he's one of the coolest guys I know. So, you know, all in all, it's just a great experience.
I am interested to know what's Arch like as a person on and off the field. Does he have any like interesting locker room quirks about him that people don't know about?
Um, I wouldn't say so, but he's just one of the guys. Like people would think, obviously being a quarterback with a name with that Manning last name, he would have an ego or something of that sort. But he really doesn't. Like he's just one of the coolest guys. You have regular conversations about stuff you would talk to, like just locker room talks with him, and it's just it's refreshing having a quarterback that's kind of like down to earth like that, and just one of the guys.
We talked about your old cooking Instagram channel earlier. What's Austin's food scene like? Anything you really like?
Obviously Texas is known for the barbecue, but I'm a big fan of Tex-Mex, man. Like they cook their tacos a different way, and I'm a big fan of it. So I haven't done much cooking any type of food like that, but I do a lot of ordering, and my DoorDash has definitely been put to use a fair amount. So yeah, Tex-Mex has been my thing as of late.
I want to really dive in on your passion for food, which makes sense being an offensive lineman at Texas. So I have my apron and chef's hat. Hopefully, it doesn't cover too much of my microphone. And I want you to tell me. Hopefully, this isn't too tight. I want you to tell me about your favorite dishes to make, whether you're at home in Hamilton or at school in Texas. Take me through those dishes and why I should try them here in London, Ontario.
Okay. So mainly right now, I'm going straight steak, potatoes, steak, and eggs. And it sounds simple, but being an athlete, just trying to get something in their body, it's very easy to cook as well as it's not that hard. It's hard to mess up, and I got different tools. Like I got my little steak thermometer that I poke in there. So like I make sure it's the right temperature. I like it at a nice little medium. So I'll go to the store, get me a little New York strip. If I'm really feeling fancy, I'll get me a ribeye. And I'll season it up. I'll saute it. I'll finish it off in the oven, all that type of good stuff. And then I'll make some potatoes. Sometimes I go bake potatoes. I go mash sometimes. Sometimes I just cube them up, throw them in the air fryer if I'm really on a lazy tip. Um, yeah, that's been the main thing. And then I'll throw some type of veggies, asparagus, maybe string beans, just to kind of brighten the plate up a little bit. And I call it a meal.
Have you cooked for any of your teammates yet?
I haven't. I haven't. We threw an O-line barbecue, so that kind of counts. I was cooking then, but just cooked a straight meal. I would say me and Jonte Newman, we're two competitive players. So I cooked the meal one time, and then he cooked his own meal, and we kind of switched it out, and we said who was the best, and I was the overlying favorite. He couldn't even try to disguise it, so that did make me feel like I still had it. I still had a little bit of the skills. So that's always great to feel.
What would you cook for Arch? Has he told you about what he likes on his plate?
Um, food wise, no, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what his go to is, but hopefully we could get like a O-line quarterback dinner or something like that, and we could get that going as well.
You gotta get Texas football's social media account to maybe do a little video of you cooking for Arch and him telling you what he thinks.
Hey, now we're talking. That's a good idea. I wouldn't be opposed to it at all.
You've I'll take this off now, but oh, you've named Trent Williams and Laremy Tunsil and Armand Membou as the tape that you study sometimes. What specifically are you stealing from each of them?
Trent Williams, there's certain stuff that he's dealing with that could do, just being a freak athlete. But he's really good with his hands and the backside of runs, chopping guys' hands down. It kind of sometimes seems like he's being lazy just because it's a quick chop, but it's very effective as well because the defender goes down most of the time. So studying how he utilizes his hands. Laremy Tunsil, he has a very efficient kick step as well as he has good change of direction skills. So his pass protection is probably, I'd say, the top of the NFL right now. That's how I studied him. That's what I studied from him. Armand Membou, he's just like a younger guy coming off his rookie year, and physically, I could compare myself to him. So I kind of just watch the way he moves, the way he approaches blocks. He switches up his set angle. He had a game going against T.J. Watt, I believe, where he did a lot of jump sets and a lot of vertical to jump sets. So it's always intriguing to see how guys switch up their sets, especially when they're going against elite pass rushers.
We talked a little bit about the run game, and you just mentioned pass blocking. Let's talk about what really gets you paid, which is that pass protection. Tell me a little bit about how you approach pass pro and what you're always thinking about from pre-snap all the way to the whistle on each play.
Um, when it comes to pass protection, I feel like a huge aspect is patience. A lot of guys get flustered when they see a 270, 260 pound guy running full speed at them, but they still have to get around you at the end of the day. They don't get paid unless they get around you. So I feel like patience is really important. So I'm very patient in my set. Sometimes you'll see me not throw my hands at all. Sometimes if I know it's a real powerful guy, I throw my hands right away. So it's just knowing your opponent as well as knowing your skill set, like knowing what you're good at and how it could counteract with whatever the opponent's good at, and kind of finding a middle ground as to how you want to approach that block.
Is there a play from your career that you'd point to as the best rep you've ever had, run or pass?
That's a great question. Um, I wouldn't say one play, but I would say against the University of Virginia last year, I had a very good game in both those aspects, and they both had very good ends coming off the edge. It was a good atmosphere, night game in Virginia. They're ranked at the time, and I cleared up a lot of lanes for runs, especially on the backside. A lot of good cutoffs, as well as in pass protection. I was pretty. I didn't allow any pressure that game, and they had that two decent ends. So I say that was a pretty good game for me, and that kind of solidified because I was a little later in the year. Solidified that I am who I kind of thought I was at the time. But I could point out a couple games last year that were kind of staple games for me that kind of helped put me on the map.
Talking about giving back and the Canadian pipeline, you just ran the Dare to Dream youth football camp in Hamilton on August 1st. Tell me about how that went.
That went great. That went great. That was roughly I want to say 2 weeks ago. I was able to go back home for the weekend, and I had a great team that helped me set up everything. Probably a team of 25 people, probably roughly 120 kids were able to show up and enjoy a free camp, which is rare in Canada. And I got to run it at my alma mater, my old high school, Notre Dame High School in Burlington, and it was a great turnout, and a lot of kids kind of found interest and started asking me about football and how they could get more into it. And that was really the goal. If it was one kid that kind of fell in love with the game, similar to how I did, especially at an earlier age that I did, I felt like my job was done. And there was a bunch of kids that kind of, furthered their love for football or found their love for football. So I feel like that was great. We were able to provide them Chick-fil-A, and I felt like it was a great experience in general, and it lasted in the kids' hearts and minds. So I felt like in general that was a great time and had a great impact on the community.
730 Scouting's Justin Dillon played a role in your path to college football. Tell me about what he did for you and what that support meant to you as a Canadian trying to chase your dreams.
Justin, he was definitely he was there kind of since the start. Um, he was kind of helping me get scouted by, like, the Canadian schools or whatnot early on, and then um uh he helped kind of explore the option of American schools and schools like Wyoming Seminary. So he was kind of that middleman that guided that pipeline for me to go to Wyoming Seminary as well as explore other preparatory schools in the States. So yeah, he had a very big impact, and I'm grateful for him and what he's done to help me get to where I am today.
Talking about what's next and this coming season, what's the one part of your game you're most focused on tightening up this fall?
Obviously moving into the right side, there's some the disparities and the techniques and the body mechanics and moving, kick stepping as a right tackle that I have to kind of refine for my time in Temple. So just kind of getting back on that right side and tightening up the pass pro, as well as run blocking, just everything. I never felt like I was a complete player yet. I felt like I was always still developing. So kind of, tightening everything up from run blocking to pass protecting and just taking my game to another level. And I felt like I was able to do that this offseason and continuing to work on it.
Are there any Canadians other than you who you're paying attention to this fall in college football, who, whenever have some time off to watch a game, or maybe who you're playing against this season?
Um, I don't believe I play any Canadian guys. I may be mistaken, but no, not really. I feel like that 2026 class had a huge graduating class of like a lot of Canadian guys and great Canadian guys kind of moving on to the CFL. I know Bryce Butler. He's a good friend of mine. He's out of Texas Tech, so that's definitely one that keeping an eye on. Obviously, Texas Tech isn't, we're not buddy buddy, but me and him, he's a good friend of mine, and I'll be supporting him for what he's got going on.
Bryce Butler, I actually spoke to him earlier for an episode, so you'll be seeing that. We're recording this on August 15th, but it'll be coming out tomorrow, August 16th. So whenever someone hears this, that episode will already be out. But yeah, that was an interesting talk with Bryce, and he also went through, having Justin Dillon with him with his recruiting journey. So he was an interesting conversation as well. Melvin, is there a part of your football story or the story of any Canadian player trying to make it big that you feel people don't know enough about?
Um, with my story in particular, there's nothing that people per se don't know enough about. But to other people, to other younger Canadians, kind of chasing the same goals as I was, a big portion of it was blind faith. You really don't know sometimes where you're gonna end up, or like I didn't know I was gonna be at Temple, and surely at my time at Temple, I didn't think I was gonna end up at Texas. So just a blind faith in your abilities and faith in God, trusting Him and trusting His direction. That was huge for me. So yeah, just blind faith and just continuous work, even though when you may not be sure where your direction is headed, or where your story is headed. Just kind of keep walking that path with God, and don't be kind of down on yourself when you don't see the results right away, because I didn't, and I kept on working and I kept on fighting, and I feel like I'm doing pretty well for myself, even though I have a lot more to accomplish. So just have blind faith and trust in God.
I appreciate that message. Thank you so much, Melvin, for your time today, and good luck at Texas this season.
Thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate you.
If you enjoyed this episode of Double Major, make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and following on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you don't miss out on the people and stories behind Canadian college football. Follow along on Instagram and TikTok at Double Major CFB, as well as my personal account at Alex M. McComb on X and Instagram for clips and updates from every show. Keep your grades up and your pads down. Class is dismissed. We'll see you next time.